Hi, I'm Barry Brager from Perception Partners, and this is continuous everyday CI for IP, R&D, and M&A using the Intellar platform. It's important for teams, entire organizations, to build data cultures for everyday learning around investing in life sciences, testing, and manufacturing, and collaborating in a way for both patient benefit and corporate benefit really requires continuous views of data around technology, data around performance, and data around the competitive environment. It's quite common to acquire many data sources. It really seems useful. Some of these data sources might be out in the open environment, in the marketplace. Some of them might be specific to technology, government data sources related to fundamental science, data sources related to market intelligence, data sources related to startups and fundraisings, data sources related to post-market activity like litigation or divestments. But when all of this information comes together, at the onset, it seems like, wow, this could be really useful. But unfortunately, it is often really big, really messy, and really siloed. And the data that we all get our hands on is often imperfect. It doesn't quite line up. Things are missing or omitted, misspelled, erroneous. It's user submitted. It's obfuscated. Lots of burdens in taking and wrangling data in a way that can be useful all the time, daily or continuously, in a way that keeps teams informed or up to speed. The best cultures of collecting and using data really overcome four big hurdles. The first one is that all the data can be brought together well enough to work in harmony. Not perfect, but consistently integrating this data in a unified way. The second hurdle is that the insights that come from the data can be well aligned to what I do or what my clients need, so that there's real value being obtained from it. And people have to agree in the culture, what is the value of this? Is it giving us time to market? Is it buying us a head start? Is it allowing us to have more constructive options? Is it creating an information asymmetry that allows us to pay a discount or to get things at a bargain, or otherwise to unload things before the value drops? These are things that groups need to determine. Why are we using it? How are we getting the value out of it? But when they do, and when there's trust, when there's certainty, there's a real opportunity to create inspiration and action. All of this around communicating, understanding, here's what we have, here's what we found, here's what we've done with it, here's why we can be as certain as possible now, and that's why you should trust that this range of actions, hopefully this limited range of actions or options, are your best one. Intellar from Perception Partners presents such an opportunity, but it's based on 15 years of expertise, really productizing consulting services, turning manual methods and approaches into a machine learning a platform that never forgets. Now, the natural language processing and the entity extraction of benefits of machine learning are really powerful when used in Intellar, because what we categorize, what we organize, what we screen through rules and classifiers and other types of approaches to help make the data curated and aligned with the types of studies we and our users want to do in any dashboard on the Intellar platform. And that's really what Intellar is set up to do, is create dashboards. I'll show more in a moment. It's really important that we categorize the right part of a document, not just any word, any phrase. It has to be what the document's about. It has to be the centrality of a concept. And natural language processing and any extraction lets us find things just in the abstract, just in the independent claims. It's just in the summary of the invention. It's just in the clinical results. It's data from a graph. We can know where we're pointing our logic, not just point it everywhere. once that data is collected and categorized, we can calculate it. We can figure out, is this more significant than something else? Or is this a higher scoring thing than something else? And then that allows us to share, first, the big data between the platform and what me, the analyst, sees, as well as what my colleagues or my clients see. And Intellar is set up to share curated data in 3 different ways. First, in the cloud as a dashboard for a team, getting folks on the same page. Data in the Intellar platform, viewed as a dashboard, is a graphical display that can be manipulated and drilled down on from any view to any other view in such a way where we see the satellite, helicopter, and microscope views of the same data at different times. And because of that, the power of the cloud, it's really big data that moves really, really quickly. 250,000 records in Intellar moves just as fast as 500 records in Intellar. And because you can get all of cancer, as I'm going to show you, all of the IP of all the attendees of bio, all under control, all as much as we want, all updated every day, that power can really enable teams to get on the same page quickly. And so what's often more appreciated are slides. Storytelling from one user to another, and Intellar enables the automated creation of AI narrative, illustration, subtitled, footnoted, and linked slides. Ways to get the story exploded, if you will, from densely packed visuals into more page-at-a-time storytelling with snippets or snapshots of relationships that are very important to individual users. Finally, even though we're collecting the data and organizing the data in a way that is synthesized, we want that data back out of our tool at any time. And Intellar allows users to retrieve data from the tool in a way that can be used in other tools. Nothing's really trapped in the Intellar platform. And this is really important when investing in tools that synthesize other data subscriptions. Intellar doesn't duplicate anything other subscriptions do. Intellar uses the most of the data you and we are already paying for. Now, inside of Intellar, what we're looking at are documents that are color-coded by type. Green means a patent, gold means an application, violet means literature, and orange means news. Here what I'm showing are individual records of each type. And what's important is that these colors are throughout the Intellar platform. So we're always going to see inside of Intellar either the record itself, let's call that the microscope view, or the trees in the forest. But we'll see distributions by color-coded document type in all the higher level or visualized views. Let's call them helicopter or satellite views of that same landscape. Inside of Intellar, we have visualizations that take trees of data. Here's a categorization, a taxonomy. This block is an area. These names are categories. And these are tiny little horizontal bar charts or distributions by document type. We can take these structures. This is a technology taxonomy, so it's built, if you will, on a custom basis for a dashboard, versus an event taxonomy where we're always looking for the same 300 or so key events. And this allows us to display things in a more graphical way. So this is an area. This inner ring of a sunburst is an area. These are categories. This middle ring of the sunburst is activity by category. These are distributions by document type. This outer ring of the sunburst is activity by document type. And so whether we see data as a tree or as a sunburst or any other way, and Intellar shows these relationships in more than one way, what we want to appreciate is that each and every category has a transparent, auditable, and explainable machine learning rule set to curate and tag these records just the way I would want. So, as an example, when I see a category in Intellar called Antisense Therapy, first of all, it's there because I wanted it there. I, the client, I, the user, I, the CI analyst, I know I care about that, and so it's displayed. When it is, what's really happening behind the scenes in Intellar is synonyms that have been learned over time, either because they are a direct synonym or a close synonym to the concept, or they are drugs, in this case, that are known to be antisense therapeutics, or they are patterns known as regular expressions, really fuzzy pattern matching logic that can look for things that are tolerant of missed characters, spaces or hyphens, British or English spelling, American spellings, things like that can be captured. We can position things to be at the beginning of a line or at the end of a line, and then also indexing. Classification codes, these are patent classes for antisense nucleotides. And no matter what the type of logic is, Intellar supports any type of synonym learned or applied that rolls up to a topic, a category that I want to track. When you bring this information together, it tells quite a story. What we're looking at here is an auto profile in a tile. And Intellar is made up of blocks or tiles of analytics. And what you're seeing here is a combination of Intellar's capabilities. This is a draggable filter by time, and it's dragging from 2010 to 2020. This is 10 years of data for Novartis. And we're taking some set of records. It starts with 131 records 10 years ago. And when we get up to 2020, it's about 5,200 records, 5,300 records. And we're seeing this data being born over time by document type. And we can see where the data is coming from, who the key inventors, authors, or co-authors are. We can see which entities are co-mentioned with Novartis over time. And we can see how their technical focus is changing over time as it moves from basic fundamental IP in therapeutic areas with now greater emphasis over time on biologics, delivery routes, and the like. Here we're seeing important terms in each period in the portfolio. This is using an algorithm called TF-IDF, or term frequency inverse document frequency. It's looking at what's important, not what's popular, to this unique portfolio of records for each and every period. When these tiles come together in displays within the dashboard, they can create comparisons. How does one company's portfolio over time compare to another? And how can I mark it up here? I voted this up. I can add my own markup so I can jump to just the things I want, and I can filter more specifically for all types of attributes that I want to drive home to my users. And I'm doing that here in this one view. Each view in Intellar shows different ways to compare things, but in my organization's view, as I look at one auto entity profile versus another, again, I can start to tell the story of how many things there are, where my technology focus differs from one entity to another, what they tend to emphasize from one party to another, and maybe I can get a better understanding of where they're showing up across market data, technical data, that IP, that R&D, that M&A. And it's not just Novartis and Roche or any other two parties we have. We can compare what our inputs are to theirs. And Intellar will take any text data. I could have all these patents, technical literature, applications, and news, but also have my invention disclosures, also have my market reports, have that in here as well, compared, tracked by volume of activity, by hot topics, and the like. And once I've got this analytical story, I would argue this is still the pilot's view of the data, not the first-class passenger's view of the data. It's still very densely packed, high level of control, high level of precision, but we need to get that out for other users. That's where my create slides function comes in. These little curved arrows in Intellar are quite interesting. You click these and it takes what's in one tile and explodes it, unpacks it into slides. Here I've kind of paused in the middle of a slide scroll here, but I can take my slides and my exploded tiles and I move them into what's called my slides. I'm able to build a slide deck with titles, subtitles, legends, footers, links, back to the source data, all of this information so that I can basically get just what I want to explain in just the order I want to explain it, using that trusted, auditable storytelling that came out of the tool that I was able to verify through interactive exhibits at that satellite, helicopter, or microscope view before I decided to share it with my team. But once I do share it with my team, it's easy to push it out of Intellar and export it directly into PowerPoint. Build that PowerPoint slide deck with just my story, just my way. Now, to give you a specific example of which I've been showing small parts, let's take a look at one of the biggest competitive intelligence opportunities or problems out there, which is the bioannual meeting. Many of us here on this webinar, and those of us who are in the CI profession or in the business development side of pharma, medical devices, we really only have a few days at bio meetings, course 2020 was an all digital meeting, to figure out how many people or parties we can meet with for those business days before we're out of time. So no matter how big you are as a company, getting the most out of bio, meeting the most disruptive startups, meeting the most mature commercial savvy partners really takes excellent planning. And so getting the bio schedule worked out so proactively we know who's got the IP, who's got the momentum, who has the in-market products or the trial progress that we want to be a part of. This is something that can actually be proactively developed using Intellar, our data, and good old-fashioned CI techniques. So I'm going to do a small Intellar analysis here just to show it. Here is a landscape map from Intellar, a different view I didn't show in my first section. But here in the landscape map, I'm showing every company in Intellar as a row, and every technology in the technology taxonomy as a column. And what I've done is I've focused my search only on firms that raise between $10 million and $100 million. Now, this is data from Crunchbase. We've taken our Crunchbase data, enriched the companies to categorize them by the amount of money made, so you don't have to go integrate it with your Crunchbase or look this up in some other tool. So here I've just grabbed two different sectors, which is where the groupings are by revenue, those who've raised 10 to 50 million and those who've raised 50, 100 million. And I've grouped it together in what's called a favorite or a custom tag of firms raising 10 to 100 million dollars. And then from there, I've used this tag to group just this set of companies. These are the companies that meet this criteria, whether they're large or small. And now I've sorted those companies by the most activity, in this case in the antibodies area. So even though ImmunoGen doesn't have the most records in the set, they have the most antibody-related records, patents, applications, literature, and news, I want to take a closer look at them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my view. I'm going back to that tile, those auto tiles I showed you, but I have a different way to look at them. Instead of looking at them as one per rectangle, one per sort of densely packed tile, I'm now sort of collapsing those tiles so I can quickly speed compare folks by their taxonomies. Now, Intellar has two taxonomies. These are the technical taxonomies, which we saw before. This is what's happening across biologics, therapeutics, immunotherapies, chemotherapies, and the like, mechanisms of action, delivery routes. And this technology taxonomy, in theory, is customized for every project if we want. Here we have very large standard taxonomies we're applying to this broad range of activity at bio, which could be oncology, respiratory, cardiology related, all types of technical areas. But here again, we're focused on things that are related to antibodies. So, but I'm going to switch now in Intellar. I can go from my technology taxonomy view, I can click my sunburst here, and then I'll take it to my events taxonomy. The taxonomies, the colors look a little bit the same. The taxonomies are still sunburst, but now instead of counting how many records mention a technology, of which many more do, some of them mention events. Material events either in the IP corpus or the market corpus that we might want to learn more from. And so I'm actually going to click on the sunburst here, just this one sunburst for ImmunoGen, and continue to zoom in on it. Now I'm looking at just the event sunburst here. I've drilled down, if you will, even though I've gotten bigger. And now I'm looking at that one taxonomy for events of ImmunoGen's records. And what I see here is that they're associated with quite a few different approved drugs, orphan drug approvals, orange book small molecules, purple book biologics, and so there's quite a range of activity here in what I'll call the research events portion of the events taxonomy. There are also market events, key achievements, there's some uncertainties and risks, financing and deal events, partnering events, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of action here. And we can see this rise of activity here. And so it's worth taking a closer look at what's driving the events, which often are coming from, as we can see, literature and news in orange, not just patents and applications in the green and the gold. I can click on this blue area on the sunburst and click down further. Now this is just a better view of those research events that were in the blue area. And I'm kind of going around the circle, and I've just rolled over my clinical trial category here. I see there's 27 total records. In the set, I know clinical trials data is important for folks who are in the pharmacy area and other areas, so just spend a moment with that. I'm going to click one more time in the clinical trials area to zoom in, and I see now when I roll over this segment that 21 of those 27 records are news, which will leave 6 records here for technical literature. Now I want to see what are these news items. So when I'm in these color-coded areas in any view, they're hot. So when I click this, I'm now drilling down into the underlying records that form that segment. Now here in this records view, just in the interest of time and to display the functionality of the platform, not only have I pulled up these records, but I'm showing a couple other features. Number one is I can mark these records up. I can add my comments, add my analysis, add votes, add ways so that when the next user comes into the data, they can jump right to what I thought was important and ignore everything else. Intellar has a low penalty for noise. Even though this set, for example, has 42,500 records in it, you can click through it as if there's just a couple dozen. You can ignore everything you don't want by going just to what you do want with a single click. Now, there's really no querying or searching required in Intellar to get through some of the most important concepts. 3 clicks in Intellar and you can see a relationship you really can't see in any other tool. But you can search if you want. Here, searches supports keywords. It also supports regular expressions, which is, again, this pattern matching that allows me to write very precise queries. So I'm looking either for anything that mentions antibody or any word that ends in mab and it's the 10 characters that precede it. And so with this query, in addition to my other filters, I'm now able to get at not just what was in ImmunoGen's clinical trials related to the news, but also highlight those key terms, mark it up, and really make that decision. Yeah, you know, I think I want to learn more about this company. I think I want my team to learn more about it. They may very well want to meet with these folks at Bio. Hopefully they can plan a meeting. Let me get them the data they need. And so with this approach, I can now take my decision and turn that into a story to share with my team. And so I'll go back to a process I showed a little bit earlier. I'm going to leave my records view, which here, and I'm going to go back to my organizations view. And so now at my organizations view, I'm looking at my auto profiles by company. This was the first row in the landscape map and the first sunburst we saw in the earlier displays. This was row 2 and the second sunburst. But I'm going to ImmunoGen, and now I'm going to click that all-important Create Slides button. I'm going to take this story that I want to tell with just the filtered data I want to talk about, filtered just the way I care about in the right pane, and I'm going to turn this into that story. So I'm going to click it, and now Intellar will create temporary slides. It basically builds a default slide deck, but I don't need every slide necessarily. Here I'm showing a slide I didn't show before just so you can get a sense of the power of the tool. It builds some really important analyses. Here I'm looking inside of ImmunoGen and I'm looking for inventor teams. Which inventors tend to work together? Who are they? And what can I learn about them? So with these slides, I can now move them. I can push them. I can either throw them away. No, I changed my mind. I want to run a new filter, build more slides. Or I can move this into a slide composer, that My Slides view. And so here, I'm able to get my slides just the way I want. I can organize and stack them for whatever stories I've been telling or plan to tell, and turn that into that exported slide deck to share with my team. So the Intellar platform is allowing me to continuously and explainably curate data every day for all the data I can get my hands on, no matter if it's IP data, news data, literature data, my own records. And this approach works for any topic. It can be pharmaceutical, medical device, but if we decide we want to track all our drugs on blockchain, if we want to focus more on genome editing, if we're going to find a new use in the agricultural space, or all of a sudden we're going to have a smart drug and it needs to be connected to a 5G network, or it's put into an endoscopic capsule. It's a small robot that travels the body. The entire platform's ready to support that, just as it was from my point of view, perhaps just on chemistry and chemical substances or formulations and compositions. I want to thank you for your attention on helping me talk to you about everyday, trusted, and inspiring competitive intelligence around IP, R&D, and M&A without the burdens on the analyst for data science to tell that complete story to teams and build a trusted data culture. Thank you very much. Come see more about us at Intellar.com, and I'm Barry Brager, glad to share this with you.